Tell me about the man himself then. You've met Ron DeSantis multiple times.
Yes. Well, I mean, he was in the U.S. Navy at one point in time. He educated at Harvard and Yale. Was a baseball player. In fact, his Little League team made it all the way to the Little League World Series. Um, so he's very studied. He does read a lot. But he's also very aggressive in using his power. He has been able to sort of change the dynamics in Florida when it comes to how things work with the governor. He's helped change the trajectory of the state. The state was normally known as a battleground state between Democrats and Republicans. This past election in November, when he was elected to a second term, he won with nearly 20%, with a 20% lead over his Democratic rival.
Okay.
And he's used all that over the last few years to push through a very aggressive agenda in a lot of different arenas.
Let's talk about those arenas. So he's effectively, solely responsible for turning Florida red, Republican, a very convincing majority there. And, with that come these sort of high-profile conservative laws, don't they? Just sum up some of those. So, now in Florida, it's easier to own a gun, for example, isn't it?
Yes, they signed into law a measure that basically allows people to carry weapons, guns concealed. They can't carry them in open, but you can carry a concealed weapon without a permit. Some of the other things he did, he just recently signed a ban on abortions after 6 weeks. But although that won't go into effect until a court challenge to a abortion bill that he signed last year goes into effect. There's been a lot of battles over issues involving education and critical race theory and things in the higher education in the universities. He basically installed a bunch of conservatives to be trustees of a liberal arts college down in Southwest Florida. And so he's taken it upon himself to do all these things. And of course, the big one that everyone knows about is his battle with Disney, where he went to war with the entertainment giant after they opposed a bill last year known as the Parental Rights and Education Bill, but which his critics called Don't Say Gay. It bans instruction about gender identity and sexual orientation in lower grades. And this year they just passed and signed into law a bill that sort of expands it all the way to 8th grade.
Okay, so effectively DeSantis has got his way on that one.
Well, right now Ron DeSantis has gotten his way on practically everything he's done or wanted. Is because the Florida legislature is of the same political party as he is, and they basically have gone along with his agenda. And he's been, enormously popular with Republicans here in Florida. I think the real test of him getting into this race is going to be how he lines up against Donald Trump, and the fact that Donald Trump and his people are already taking shots at DeSantis. And the question is, how's he going to respond?
How does he get along with Donald Trump? Do we know what the relationship? Has there been any relationship between the pair?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Basically, Donald Trump will tell you in a heartbeat that he believes he's totally responsible for Ron DeSantis' success. Basically, what happened in 2018, which was when Ron DeSantis first ran for governor, he was a congressman from the northeastern part of our state. And he was running against an establishment-backed candidate, a person who had a lot more money and was more well-known than Ron DeSantis. DeSantis, however, while in Congress, had become a staunch defender of Trump. And he was able to convince Trump to basically use Twitter to announce his support for DeSantis. And then eventually he got the, quote, full and complete endorsement from Trump. And he even ran an ad leading up to the Republican primary that sort of talked about how much he loved Trump. And so what happened is that when Trump was still in office, they did have a good relationship. They had a working relationship. DeSantis was able to get Trump to give Florida more money for hurricane recovery and things of that nature. But basically what happened is when the talk began to percolate that DeSantis was going to run for president, the mood changed, the tenor changed, and Trump has basically said that DeSantis is disloyal, and then they've also tried to start going after him about some things he did in Congress. So it's been very interesting. It's been a complete, kind of 180 from where they had this really good working relationship to now they are political enemies.
Yeah. His campaign fund is a lot more buoyant, isn't it, than Donald Trump? If I'm comparing like for like, he's got a lot more money behind him at the moment. Trump has been able to fundraise less, but we know he has a popular following, so I don't know how long that will continue for. Is it right, when you've interviewed him, he is accused of being a bit cold and sort of, lacking in, certainly not matching Donald Trump when it comes to the charm and the personality. Would you make the same assessment, Gary?
Well, what I would make the assessment is, I have not met the former president in person. Clearly, when you talk to people, they talk about how engaging he can be, and he's very, good in certain settings, and that he does have a sense of humor. And with DeSantis is no, he's not the same way. He in terms of his, now I would say, especially in his dealings with the press, it's been very acrimonious with both his people and the governor himself in terms of dealings with the press. I mean, he's been known to sort of go after reporters in certain press events, but more importantly, when you talk to people, he's gotten a reputation that they are apparently trying to change right now. But he's got a reputation as he doesn't like to glad hand. He's not into just making idle chit chat. That he's very much sort of like focused on what his next thing to do is and everything.
Yeah,
and so
business-like.
And so I think the point is I think there is a feeling that his interpersonal skills are going to be challenged here.
And if you enjoyed that, you can listen to me, Kate Borsay, every evening, Monday to Thursday, 8 until 10 on the evening edition on Times Radio.